top 10 things that you kind of have to consider when you're either a pop-up owner or the person who's hosting it or a vendor. So the first one is permitted use of space and scope. It's usually limited and you want to have it spelled out. What is their use? Why are they there? So spell it out. What is the purpose of using your space and what they might be selling or what they're permitted to sell during that pop-up event or on the premises as well, and what they're not permitted to sell as well. Have that defined. Number 2, non-exclusivity. What that means is there can be other people out there. If you're a vendor, there can be other vendors like you there. There could be another retail shop that is selling, jewelry, or it could be selling jams also, or it could be selling handmade cards. Because the idea of the pop-up is not that you are saying, hey, I'm hanging out here like a food court and, there can't be another McDonald's here. But it's more on the idea of this is a pop-up event, people are coming together and they're trying to experience different vendors and different service providers out there. So the whole idea is not exclusivity, but more where you are sharing a space and growing together. And number 3 is duration and time. And you have usually a limited scope of hours that you can either go into your space or where you can actually be on the premises. So it could be where you have to set up at a certain time, you can sell during a certain time, and you have to break down at a certain time. Or if you're doing it for over a span of 3 days, then it kind of defines like setup, breakdown, but then also how long you can be on the premises and what time you got to leave. And what time, the lights will be shut off and what time your guests will need to be leaving also. So those kind of details should be in there as well. Number 4, set the parameters on the signage, build out furniture and things like that. So any fixtures, any build outs, you probably can't do it unless you're bringing like small pieces of furniture, and unless the build out is literally something where it's not a build out, you bring it from your home, you place it, and you can break it down and take it home. So it's nothing where you're adding any construction to it, or you're adding fixtures or taking off fixtures or removing furniture or fixtures, because it is such short term in nature that having those requirements or that expectation would be contrary to the whole idea of short-term, quick, easy out. Number 5, the license fee. License fee includes the rental of the space. It also includes the utilities, and it also includes any of the amenities that might be there that they're providing for you. So just a basic overhead cost, but it's all a lump sum amount rather than a variable amount generally. Now, there might be some people out there that have a certain way of doing certain things and how they do the pricing, and that's totally fine also. But generally, in a license to use the space, commercial space, all of this is in one fee, and there's no other unexpected surprise cost unless they've already told you about it from beforehand. Number 6, permits and license to use whatever you're using or to sell whatever you're selling or to operate. So you as a occupant or a vendor need to make sure that you are in compliance with the law and you have whatever necessary permits are there for your business and whatever necessary licenses are there for your business. And on the flip side, if you are a host or the owner of the venue or person who's hosting this event, you also want to make sure that you know what kind of license or permits are required from the vendors that are coming in so that you can make sure that they have it, but then 2, also make sure that you have your necessary required permits as well and licenses. And ultimately, whatever is required from each independent party, they need to provide it. No one should be held responsible for either party with regards to operating their business. Number 7, your business insurance. So you might have some indemnification clauses in there. Indemnification means that either party is going to indemnify you or make sure that they're taking care of you if something happens because of their fault or their lack of action or something of that nature. And so the insurance is something that helps you indemnify somebody. So you have to make sure as a owner, you have insurance for whatever you might be indemnifying. And then also as a vendor, you have insurance to make sure that you're covering anything that you could potentially be indemnifying also. Because if you don't, this could actually make or break your business financially. So make sure you have that covered. It's something that we don't think about, but something that we definitely have to at least read about it and include it in our business plan if you are really serious about protecting and hedging your risk out there. Number 8, non-transferable. So generally licensed to use a commercial space is non-transferable, meaning you cannot give it to another party unless both parties agree to it. And unless both parties, usually in my contracts, I say both parties have to agree to it, and they have to also agree to it in writing, and they both have to sign it, because that way it just really confirms that transfer that you are trying to do. Now, some people don't even allow it, and if it's not in your contract, you probably can't do it either. And if there is something that specifically says it's non-transferable and doesn't give you an out in case you want to, then you can't do it either. So that's something to look out for. That's something to kind of include also, just in case there's an emergency, you just can't make it for whatever reason, and to have that little provision in there as well for yourself. But generally, it is non-transferable, but you can always add that little provision in there if you want to. Number 9, COVID-19 waivers. You want to have them posted. You want to make sure that people see it. If there's a physical thing that people are walking into, make sure it's physically visible, that everyone's assuming the risk. Nobody's responsible for any person that might contract COVID-19 during the time that they're on the premises or at your stall or somebody else's stall, because honestly, you just can't control it. You just want to make sure, though, even though you're doing the waiver, what you do want to make sure about is that you are providing the baseline protections, CDC guidelines that are required, or whatever other guidelines that might be there that your state or local authorities are requiring, or the federal authorities. So if you are following the guidelines and implementing the guidelines and also enforcing the guidelines, and then you post that, you should be good. And last, usually the license to use a commercial space is easily revocable. And what that means is that the person who is granting you the license can easily say, we're done, I can't, for whatever reason. It could be where they have had a loss, they had to shut down immediately. There was damage that happened to their space. Even online, maybe they just had issues and they just can't have this event anymore. And so generally there is an easy way out for the host, and they can easily revoke the license to use as well. And that's something different than usually the lease that you might have, because with leases, it's not that easy to revoke, and you have to actually go through a little hurdles and spend some more money with litigation, maybe even to get that person out of there.